Broadcasting live from the crucible of the Spirit Dragon on the plain of Tarkir, this is Tap Tap Concede.
Ooh,
yes, in
nice
the past.
Thematic.
In the past.
Oh my god, this Tap Tap Concede is coming to us from the past?
It is.
Oh my god, buy Apple.
Because we're recording it before people are hearing it. It's amazing. Hey, everybody. It's myself, Graham, and Kathleen is here.
Hello.
And James is here. What up? He's over on the production computer because we're talking Fate Reforged pre-release. We all just went... we always go late in the weekend, so we went last night, Sunday night. It's Monday today. We weren't able to record it last night, but we're here now to give you the freshest impressions we can on our pre-release. We'll tell you all about how we did and how that all went. But first...
We're going to crack a pack.
We're going to crack a pack. And we're going to crack a pack of... Fate Reforged.
Yay. I'm glad some of us did well enough to win some packs.
One of us...
That did not come from anybody's winnings, so... But
one of us
we don't talk about our records.
One of us won at least one pack.
I won two.
All right, here we are. First up, Sultai Rune Mark. This was a real problem for me in one of the games, at least. It's 2 and a black for an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2. And if you control a green or blue permanent... The enchanted creature has Death Touch.
I like Death Touch as an ability at all times. Mm-hmm. Conditional Death Touch is not great. But I don't know. A lot of people are like, I don't know about the rune marks, but there wasn't a ton of removal going around, and I actually found that they weren't bad even in just +2/+2 mode.
Yeah, I was running one in my deck. I was running the Abzan rune mark, and I got bounced once. And I think a creature got killed another time, but apart from that, it actually did okay.
When you get into that +2/+2 range, like when you get into that 4 PT range, it's actually a little hard to kill things, right? Like because that's out of the range.
All my Dowsing Glooms were sitting dead in my hand.
Yeah, exactly.
I think draft will be different,
Lightning
but sealed.
Sealed it. I thought it was good.
Hey, speaking of, it's the Abzan rune mark. Very rune marky pack.
So it's the same thing, but it gives vigilance.
Yeah, this is the one in white. So it's two in a white. Creature gets +2/+2, and it's if you control a black or green permanent, you get vigilance as well.
I don't know if vigilance is worth running a rune mark for. Death Touch, flying, different stories.
I like it. I think vigilance goes very, very well in the Abzan deck.
I guess.
I was actually really happy with it. Hey, this is a card I thankfully didn't play against. This is the Aven Surveyor. It's the 2/2 for 3 blue flying bird scout. And when it enters the battlefield, either you put a +1/+1 counter on it, so it becomes a 3/3 flyer for 5, which is actually pretty all right.
It's fine.
Or you get to return target creature to its owner's hand.
We always do the second one, and it's Mist Raven.
Basically,
it's
Mist Raven. It costs 1 extra more, but you get those modes. So
yeah, so
I'll take it. I wish I had one of these.
Yeah, you were playing in a clan with blue, and you weren't able to.
I had no flyers.
That's a shame.
No.
This one I would have liked to have played around with. This is Ancestral Vengeance. It's an enchantment creature. This is a little weird. The enchanted creature gets -1/-1, but when it enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control.
This is a weird card.
Yeah. What I like is that you can't get you can't get blown out. Like, you don't get the counter blown out if someone kills your creature in response. Because it's like, I put this in targeting your guy, and either they counter it there, or they let it resolve, and it goes on their guy, and then you get your counter. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool.
I mean, it's okay.
It's okay. I think it's neat. War Flare. Thankfully, didn't see any of these.
Had one in my deck.
And did it do okay for you?
I mean, when I got to cast it, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty powerful card.
Yeah.
I mean, giving everything +2/+1 and untapping everything can be a pretty big blowout, either when it comes to combat or, surprise blockers. I managed to get them both to work, where I won one of my few games by war flaring, and I stopped myself from losing quite as quickly as I would have on the defense of a war flare. So it seemed pretty sweet, and I like that it's a common. So
yeah, it's a common for 2 red/white.
Yeah.
Instant. So it's sweet for Warflare. Saw a couple of these running around on the other side of the table. This is Return to the Earth. 3 and a green for an instant. Destroy target enchantment, artifact, or creature with flying.
So, fun fact, this card started out in my sideboard because I was like, and quickly became a main board, and I would board it out because there was a lot of dragons running around with the pre-release. There was a lot of big flying creatures I didn't really have a way to deal with.
I forgot that don't have to. I forgot that at the pre-release your deck can be whatever.
Yeah.
And every match I would side in Windstorm after game 1, and then I'd diligently de-sideboard between rounds. And not until, I'm going to say about 15 seconds ago, did I realize that I did not have to do that. Oh, well.
You're cute.
This card actually seems kind of clunky to me.
I mean,
don't know.
super clunky. I'm not saying it's a good card, but I'm saying it was necessary.
I think it was pretty good at the pre-release.
I think
because
necessary,
of all those dragons.
necessary and sealed, yeah.
But I think when it comes to drafting this with cons, it's going to be a sideboard card.
Well, I didn't realize the pre-release it would be 4 packs.
People like
Fate Reforged, and like a pack and a half of cons.
making it rain dragons.
Yep.
Yeah, there was a lot of big flyers, and I realized I don't think I would go into a draft main decking this because it's 1 pack you're opening, right?
Yep.
So there's going to be a lot less flyers and good flyers that are worth putting in your deck running around. I still think it's a sideboard then because there's not many artifacts or enchantments that are worth it, right?
No. Next up, the Great Horn Crew Shock. It's a 3/5 for 4 and a white.
I have better things to do with 5 mana.
Yeah, it's not that exciting. Goblin Heel Cutter. I was also thankfully not on the receiving end of.
Oh, God. F this guy.
It's a 3/2 for 3 and a red.
With the dash cost?
Whenever Goblin Heel Cutter attacks, target creature can't block this turn.
I got blown out by a guy with 3 of these.
Also, he can dash for 2 and a red. And what that means is instead of casting him for 3 and a red, you can pay 2 and a red. He comes down, has haste, can attack that turn. You get that effect that turn, and then the end of your turn, he goes back to your hand.
This guy is so good.
Meaning on the next turn, you can do it again.
And the thing is, because when he comes into the battlefield, target creature can't block. It's not like some of the other dash creatures where it's like, well, he might just run into a wall, so to cast it. This guy's pretty safe. Yeah. I don't like that guy. Got blown out.
Ambush Crotic.
It looks like a dune worm.
It's about the size of a dune worm. It's a 5/5 insect for 5 and a green. This creature looks like a 17/17. There's tiny men on top of the castle up there. This
Obzon siege thing.
This insect is the size of an office building. When it enters, it's a 5/5. It's got trample. When it enters the battlefield, return another creature you control to its owner's hand.
Seems good if you have something that makes a token.
Otherwise, it's kind of.
I mean, it's got trample.
There's a lot of ways to abuse returning your own creatures, but a 5/5 trample for 6 with a not insignificant downside seems kind of meh.
I mean, I feel like
there's a lot of ways to abuse stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like actually I want this card in a green blue cube deck where there's a lot of ETB effects.
Latest.
Hey, Graham,
what?
Play that guy. Return your Aven Scout.
Well, obviously that's
your
living
Aven
the dream,
Surveyor.
sure. But that's a lot of mana.
Shush.
The latest Magic card to be a great band name, Gore Swine. It's not a great card though. It's a 4/1 for 2 and a red.
I don't like. I guess it triggers ferocious.
It does. Cloud Form is 1 blue. Didn't see any of these either. Thank goodness. It's a enchantment for 1 blue. Like I said, I think we talked about this. It comes into play as an enchantment, then turns into an aura. You manifest the top card of your library and attach the aura to it, and the enchanted creature has flying and hexproof. So you get a 2/2 flying hexproof for 3. That's the worst it can be, and at best you manifest a creature and you get to turn it face up later, and it gets an even bigger flying hexproof creature.
Oh, that's like a Build-A-Bomb.
It seemed pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I got blown out by this card. It was pretty sweet.
I wanted one of those.
He manifested the bear, the 4/2 bear.
Oh, the Alpine Grizzly?
The Alpine Grizzly.
Oh, no.
So he played this turn 3, and then turn 4 flipped up the Grizzly, and now he had a 4/2 flying bear that I couldn't interact with. It was terrifying.
Wow, that's rough.
Bears should not be allowed to fly.
That's rough.
I did not get one of those cards, although I wanted one.
Wandering Champion. It's 1 and a white for a 3/1. Whenever Wandering Champion deals combat damage to a player, if you control a blue or red permanent, you may discard a card, and if you do, draw a card. So you get it's a 3/1 for 2, and you get to rummage if you connect. I don't know. I think she's neat.
3/1 for. I like 3/1s for 2.
I don't like them.
One with an upside is.
I'd
okay
much
with
rather
that,
have a
so.
1/3.
They can trade for a morph, even if your opponent has secret plans.
Oh boy.
True story. Well, I mean, they also just trade up, right?
Yeah.
The 2-mana creature trading up for sometimes a 3 or 4 creatures.
I saw a lot of people playing this, and I don't know.
bad.
I don't know if it was good.
What is it?
Fruit of the First Tree.
I don't even know what this is.
3 and a green, enchantment creature. Or a creature enchantment. When enchanted creature dies, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is its toughness.
I feel like this is not a very good card.
No.
So it's like you get to Sphinx's Revelation equal to the toughness of the creature when it dies, and until then you've wasted a card and all that mana doing
4 mana for that.
doing literally nothing.
Yeah, because your opponent just doesn't do anything with that creature anymore.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to attack. He or she doesn't have to attack. They don't have to block. They can just stand there and do nothing.
Unless you're already winning, in which case you're already winning,
Yeah.
and another creature is probably better. I don't know. This seems like a card that people are like, "Oh man, look at what this does," but it's not actually that great.
No, I had that and did not run it.
Yeah. All right, and the rare. Ooh. It's one of the sieges we talked about. It's the Outpost Siege. I think we said is not the worst, but it's not amazing.
It's a red one, right?
Yeah, 3 and a red. When it enters the battlefield, choose cons or dragons. If you choose cons, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. Until end of turn, you may play that card. If you choose dragons, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, Outpost Siege deals 1 damage to target creature or player.
I saw one person using this, and it was completely irrelevant to their game. They wasted a turn casting it, and they never did anything with it.
I mean, if you pick cons, it's card advantage.
Yes.
So, I mean, dragon seems kind of bad.
I guess they have a lot of X ones, though.
I guess, but
your creatures have to leave the battlefield first.
Yeah.
It's just like a little extra middle finger on the way out. Okay, I know you don't like to do this, but what is your guys' pick?
I like to do this plenty. Cloud Form.
Cloud Form.
Cloud form probably.
All right, Cloud Form's gone.
Then
I'm taking Aven Surveyor.
I could see taking Surveyor.
in the absence of Cloud Form,
Yes.
What were the 3? What were the
uncommons
again?
were Cloud Form, Wandering Champion, and Fruit of the First Tree.
Right.
So
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. I don't think I'd pick Fruit of the First. Yeah,
So Cloud Form's gone.
I'd probably take
Oh, Heel Cutter.
Yeah, second pick for me is Heel Cutter.
Heel Cutter. Yeah, I could see that. All right.
Yeah.
Heel Cutter's very good.
So who wants to go first? We'll talk about their pre-release.
Well, I mean, why don't you go first? You're
All
on
right
top.
then, I will. So I picked Abzan. In the cons pre-release, and I enjoyed it. So I wanted to basically run it back and see if I enjoyed it again. There was a supply curiosity at our specific pre-release, and I heard of some other similar but different things happening at other pre-releases.
There were some weird misprint and packaging errors for the pre-release. I don't know what happened there, but
So according to the judges, 80 to 85% of the Abzan packs that we had,
Yeah.
they were the Abzan box, everything inside, like the spin down counter was Abzan, and the rare in the seeded pack was Abzan, but the rest of the seeded pack was Jeskai. So you'd get like the Warden of the First Tree, and then like Jeskai Banner, Mystic Monastery, Jeskai Charm, Ifrit Weapon Master, and you're like,
Uh-oh.
what? So they warned us about this ahead of time, and
And you had a couple options. You could either accept your fate and take a pack they had cracked just to see what it was, and even though it hadn't been touched, a judge had opened it, and knew that you would get a Jeskai seeded pack.
yeah, they had the head judge open a couple to confirm, so you could take one, even though, and they were like, the head judge did this. We assure you, the packs are as they left them, and we trust our local store. So they wouldn't have done any. They wouldn't have done any shenanigans. But I was like, no, you know what? Whatever.
Roll the dice, grab an uncracked pack.
We'll
an
roll the dice on
uncracked
this.
one.
Let's try it. And I got it. I got Abzan, and it had all the Abzan stuff in it. So my promo rare was the Sand Step Mastodon, who I resolved. Never. actually.
Oh.
Never resolved him. I was about to, and then I died. He's 7 mana, 5 green for a 5/5 with reach. No, that's a lie. I did actually resolve him once. I'm sorry. I did resolve him.
And it was the greatest time of your life.
Well, my only other creature was a Typhoid Rat, so I ended up with a 6/6 Death Touch Typhoid Rat, and then I had a 5/5 reach. This guy, I found myself comfortably getting to 7 mana most games. Again, this was sealed, so just. I don't think we need to continually validate that. Just assume that everything we talk about today is under the lens of it was at the
pre-release. Not only was it sealed, it was pre-release sealed,
yeah, which is a weird,
which is even different than regular.
So
sealed.
comfortably able to get to 7 mana every game. I'm sorry I didn't see this guy more often. But let me talk about some of the all-stars of the deck. I have a picture of my deck here because I don't actually have it with me physically. Dagatar the Adamant. I got the Abzan Khan, and this guy's nuts. This guy's really, really good. Yeah, we talked about him briefly a couple episodes back. He's a 0/0 for 3 and a white, but he enters with 4 +1/+1 counters. So he's a 4/4 for 4. He's got vigilance. And then for 1 Golgari, which is the green-black split mana, so 1 green-black, move a +1/+1 counter from target creature to another target creature. And what we missed the first time we talked about him and corrected on a later podcast is that you can steal tokens from your opponent's creatures. And that came up a lot. I was in a situation where someone else had the general, I can't remember, it's the 2/3 Abzan general that bolsters every turn. And they would make counters. They'd be like, all right, end of turn, I do this. And I'd be like, great, I steal your tokens. And he eventually stopped Stop bolstering. One game, actually, we had a really slow, drawn-out game. My opponent had finally stabilized with some stuff with counters, and I played Dagatar, and I passed the turn, and I still have a bunch of mana up because the game's been going so long. We've both been flooding. And he's like, all right, I draw, pass the turn. I'm like, cool, end of your turn. I'm going to move a counter from those 2 guys onto this guy and this guy. And he was like, excuse me? Can I read Dagatar? And looked at him and was like, oh, and just scooped, just conceded right to game 2. So yeah, Dagatar, really, really good, especially.
I don't like him. I just plan to play against him.
Oh, yeah. No, you like him if you have him, trust me.
Yeah. He's not much fun if you're trying to put counters on your dudes, though.
Ways in my deck to get counters, by the way. Abzan Charm, which you can put a counter on 2 different creatures. Frontier Mastodon, which is the one from Fate Reforged. It's a 3/2 for 3, which is totally fine. But if you have Ferocious, which Dagatar happens to trigger Ferocious, then he gets a +1/+1 counter. I had 2 Abzan Sky Captains, which are the 2/2 flyers for 4 that when they die, you bolster 2. I'm going to letting James catch up. I had the Elite Scale Guard, who's the 4 and a white for the 2/3 that bolsters when he comes into play, which, by the way, if you already have Dagatar and nothing else out, this guy becomes a 4/5. So he gets counters. And I had Hunt the Weak, which puts a counter on and then the creatures fight. And while it doesn't have counters itself, the Battlefront Crew Shock means that if a creature you control has a +1/+1 counter, it can be blocked by only one creature. So it can't be double blocked. And I had a game where I had the Dragon Bell Monk, which is the 2/2 Vigilance Prowess guy. He had counters on him. Dagatar had counters on him. The Crew Shock was out, and everything was just like, you can't block it. Just slamming on in. Let me tell you about my removal suite, because that was like almost half my deck. I had the Hunt the Weak, like I said. The Abzan Charm, like I said, which can kill something if you have to. Kill Shot from Khans of Tarkir. And then new removal, I had Grim Contest, which is the butt fights. The 1 green-black instant where they deal damage equal to their toughness. Not as well as I would have hoped, honestly.
I mean, considering you had all these counters floating around, too.
Yeah, but the problem is that I happen to be fighting a lot of things that also had massive toughness.
There's a lot of big toughness in this
I was like, this will just kill my guy too. It's not great.
I know Adam, who was also with us, was playing this in his Sultai deck. And it was doing very good work for him.
Yeah, but Sultai creatures are huge toughness.
Yeah, so I could see, I mean, this card definitely has a home, but I feel like it's in
the flavor of it is Sultai, and I think it's more at home in a Sultai deck than an Abzan deck.
Because your creatures are all like maybe 4 5s.
Yeah, maybe I should have
And
boarded
theirs
it
are all
out
like
for my-
3 6s.
Probably should have boarded it out for my second Sandblast. I was running a Sandblast in the deck, which is the kill shot kind of spell, except it's attacking or blocking creature, and instead of destroy, it just deals 5 damage.
I feel that's pretty good because it still kills a lot of things in this set.
And you know what I was a huge fan of? 2 Dousing Gloom. 2 of those was real nice. This is something I noticed because of the pre-release, the way that the packs were laid out. You only got 1 pack of Cons of Tarkir, so you had between that and your seeded pack to get any creature with morph. I saw very few morphs. I had 1.
I had one.
I had 1.
I had the Obzon Guide. I saw maybe 3 others. I think Abomination of Gudul was, of course, in the Sultai decks. I think it was in the seeded Sultai packs. And I saw a Master of Pearls at one point. And so anytime my opponent was like, turn 3 morph, I'm like, I assume that's good, and I just douse and gloom immediately. And that's how I got Master of Pearls. Douse and Gloom, good stuff.
Yeah, I saw a couple more morphs. Like I saw some people did have more morphs in their decks, and good for them. But for the most part, my previous pre-release rule of if I fling in with an irrelevant 2/2 or even a 3/1 or something like that, and you don't block with your morph token, then I'm going to kill it. And almost always that paid off.
Mm-hmm. And I had a Typhoid Rats, like I mentioned. The new one, I had the Mardu Woe Reaper, which is the 2/1 for 1 human warrior. That when it or another warrior enters the battlefield, exile a creature card from any graveyard, and you gain a life. And that was good for stopping opponents' delve, and just for random life gain. Although I think I only had 2 other warriors in the deck. A lot of soldiers though. And I want to quickly talk about the zombie fish. Because
How was Gurmag Angler?
Gurmag Angler was actually sweet. Just a big 5/5.
You could delve out.
Was very difficult to stop. There was a game against Kathleen, actually, where I had the Gurmag Angler bounced 3 times.
I had a lot of disruption in my deck.
I had to delve so many cards because I got it out as early as I could. Like I had cast a Douse and Gloom, traded off a Typhoid Rats, then like tapped out for it and got the Angler out real quick. Had it.
Then you put one of those. No, you put a rune mark on it.
Well, the first time it was whisked away to the top of my deck.
Yeah.
Then I got it back out and I put the Obzon rune mark on it, making it, by the way, a 7/7 with Vigilance, which was very challenging. And then you forced it away.
Yep.
And then I played it again, and something else happened to it.
I think I might have just killed it the last time.
So briefly, let me run you through my rounds because we mentioned this online. I did the worst I've ever done at a pre-release. Round 1. Very, very slow games. Very slow games against a grindy Sultai deck. Both of us flooded out game 1, but I had the greater pressure, and like just windmills back and forth. And then, like I said, Dagatar came out and my opponent scooped it up. Game 2, Silumgar came out, which is the 3/7 flying hexproof dragon in blue-black that whenever it deals combat damage, or sorry, whenever a dragon attacks, creatures your opponent controls get -1/-1.
I saw a lot of damn legendary dragons.
Yeah, there was a lot of these guys around, and that game was crazy. Like I was gaining so much life that game off of Obzon Guide with a token or with a counter on it, off of the just randomly 3 life off of an Arishan Cleric, gaining life off of Douse and Glooms. Like I was up in my 30s in terms of life in that game. No, I was up to 48. And then my opponent kills my Obzon Guide, gets Silumgar out there, and just starts 3-ing me. And we're building up this massive board stall on the ground, but Silumgar is just in every single turn. And I just keep drawing land, and I can't quite get there. Game 3, I have to board in Windstorm. This is, I mentioned earlier that I boarded it in every single time, and I didn't win the game. I was overwhelmed with flyers. Unfortunately, he had the 4/4 for 6 dragon. He had a bunch of other flyers as well, but I did cast Windstorm for 8 mana to kill Silumgar and one other random small flyer, because of course Windstorm does not target, so it was able to get rid of him, which was really nice, but I wasn't able to get there. Then in the second round, I was having really good games, and then like the first game was like a fair game of Magic. It was pretty straightforward. My opponent stumbled a bit on land. I was able to capitalize on it. Then second game, he plays, and I noticed that he's playing Crucible of the Spirit Dragon and making a point to put storage counters on it. This is the storage land that builds up stuff that you can spend on dragons, but you can get any color of mana. So he plays Dramoka, which is the green-white dragon, which is anytime a dragon attacks, you bolster 2. And he's already got the 2/3 prowess flyer out. And then I'm like, okay, and I have removal in my hand. Like I've got a kill shot. I've got the sand blast. Like I've got removal. I'm just sort of waiting for him to attack. So I'm like, all right, well, okay, I pass it back. He untaps and plays Ojute, the 5/6 legendary dragon,
the blue-white one
from blue white. That anytime a dragon attacks, you tap a permanent down,
and then it doesn't untap,
and it stays untapped.
I lost a game because I didn't realize it would stay tabbed.
Yeah,
my own fault for not reading the card, by the way. Not salty at anybody but myself.
So then I'm like, okay, and he doesn't attack, and I'm like, okay.
Okay.
All right.
This is the problem with conditional removal.
Land, go. And then he plays Lightning Shrieker, which is basically the Lava Axe Dragon. And by the way, I think Dragon Tribal is the only place where this guy belongs.
Yeah, because this card is terrible.
Is not good. But then he's like, all right, attack with all these guys. So he attacked with everything. That's 3 bolster triggers. That's
something's being tapped down.
I only had one thing, so he tapped it down 3 times for whatever it's worth. But then, so the way the bolster triggers worked, he bolstered 2 on the 2/3, giving it 5 toughness.
Okay, well, it's still kill shot.
Then he bolstered 2 on Dramoka because then it was tied for lowest toughness at 5. And then he bolstered back on the 2/3 again because then it was again tied for the lowest toughness at 5. So he's swinging for 5 off of Ojute, 7 from Dramoka, 5 from the Lightning Shrieker, and 6 from the 2/3 prowess flying Jin. And I'm like, sandblast that, kill shot that, and I'm still just ultra super dead. So we go to game 3. Game 3, he casts. I think it's Right into Being. I think it is.
I love that card.
Just the card that it's the blue card that just manifests something.
And you get to filter your draw a bit, which is nice.
Right. So he casts Right into Being, and he's like, all right, do this, manifest that, put that back on top. And I'm like, okay, cool. I do my turn, and I pass the turn. He's like, all right, end of your turn, flip up the manifest. It's a Shock Maw Dragon. The 4/4 for 6, 4/4 for 6 in red, and then untaps Lightning Shrieker. That's 9 in the air that I'm totally not prepared for. And I'm just like, oh, just get totally slammed.
Just getting wrecked here, sir.
Yeah. So I'm 0-2. And I'm like, that sucks. But I can win. This is fine. Because I do like my deck. I'll say this. I had a lot of fun at the pre-release. I had a ton of fun. I enjoyed my deck. I like how I built it from the pool I had. I liked how it turned out, and I think I played well. I don't think I made any massive mistakes. Round 3, I'm trying to remember the exact circumstances of, but round 3, we went to turns. Round 3 was a draw. Game 1, my opponent milled himself. Too much card advantage. He had Tassiger, the Sultai Khan, who has a really weird ability. There's a 4/5, and for 2 Simic, you mill yourself for 4.
Put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard, then return a non-land card of any or of an opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand.
So he mills, and I get to pick. Let me tell you. So he's already got Tassiger and 2 nothing cards out. Like he's got the 2/1 that mills you and the Hooded Assassin, but it's a 1/2 because he killed one of my creatures. And I'm like, all right, whatever. And he casts Incremental Growth. So they're all massive now because Tassiger's now a 7/8. Then a turn later activates Tassiger's ability, milling 2 lands. So I have to give him back incremental growth.
Oh, wow. That's...
And I still am not losing this game. It's just a real slog. I give him the incremental growth back, but I managed to get the board state into such that he doesn't have 3 creatures. And he doesn't want to cast it because he doesn't want to give any counters to my side. Because my creatures get better if they have counters, like significantly better. And so I'm desperately trying to craft this board state, and it doesn't work. And then I think that might have been actually the second game, because the first game, between all the card draw he had and the he had Monastery Siege, so he was drawing 2 cards a turn. That one came down when he only had 6 cards left in his library.
Why would he play that?
Because
he was looking for answers.
He had to look. He had to see if one of the bottom 6 cards of his library was an answer, right? Better do it faster than not.
Yeah, fair.
So between that and Tassiger and whatever, he milled himself out. And then game 3, we just played and couldn't get there and lost in turns. And so I tied. So my record after round 3 was 0-2-1, and I was paired up against Kathleen, who was 1-2.
Yeah.
And we played, and they were actually super fun games.
Yeah, I feel that both of our decks are kind of meant to more slug it out on the ground. And you had a lot of stuff, but I had a lot of disruption and had a lot of fast removal, and then huge beefy guys because I was playing Teamer, and so that turned into this meat race basically.
Yeah, and then we were in turns, and you couldn't beat me, and I couldn't beat you.
It was
so the best we could do, because we went to time, we went to turns. The best we could do was draw. But in that situation, I'm then 0-2-2, which means I can never ever win anything. And you would then be 1-2-1, which is terrible. So I just conceded because it's whatever.
And I would like to point out, had we,
if you'd had one more turn, you would have killed me.
Absolutely. So it's not like it was this a pity concession.
But you didn't. No. Absolutely not. And then in the last round, I'm now 0-3-1, and I go up against someone, and it's the same sort of thing. It's we play, and I win the first game, and I start playing really sloppily, and he wins the second game, and I'm just if I win, neither of us get anything. So I just
need to look something up.
Okay, so I just conceded.
No,
so
I actually don't know how to get into your phone.
Okay, here.
Sorry. I was I need to look up something. That's why I was showing Graham.
Sorry, I thought you were trying to show me the time. So, yeah.
Well, that too.
So I ended up 0-4-1, but I had a great time. I like I said, I enjoyed my deck. I had a lot of fun with the cards. I think the new set is sweet. I thought it was great. James, what about you?
Mardu. Okay, so I picked Mardu. I did the same thing as Graham, actually. I chose the same clan. I got to stick with it. I'm going to go Mardu again when I assume I get to go Mardu and Dragons of Tarkir, but that's my goal. Mardu all the way. So my rare for the day was the Mardu Strike Leader. The Mardu Strike Leader is the 2 and a black for a 3/2, and it reads, whenever Mardu Strike Leader attacks, put a 2/1 black warrior creature token onto the battlefield.
Oh, this guy's really good.
And it has dash for 3 and a black. So you can bring him out, attack, because it gives him haste, obviously, get your 2/1, and then bring him back to your hand to protect him. He was very strong. The only problem is that he's not huge, right? So, I mean, almost anything that your opponent is playing, they're blocking, right? You just can't leave this guy unchecked. You can't just let this guy continue to attack you freely and let you build up your 2/1 army, because it's bad news. So he never, I think once he was able to actually make 2 little friend dudes, but other than that, he basically always died, probably like he should, and like I recommend you guys do as well.
Yeah.
The other creature that I had 2 of in my deck and that I was super impressed was the the Sandstep Outcast.
Yeah. I think this is the best of this cycle.
It's got to be. This card is insane. It was so good. It's 2 and a white for a 2/1 human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, you choose one. You can either put a +1/+1 counter on it to make it a 2 or a 3/2, or you can put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield.
I got blown out by a guy who had this guy and Alesha, who smiles at death.
Woof.
Because he was just swinging her in. with another goblin heel cutter, actually.
Oh, no.
So I couldn't block very well, and I eventually ended up having to like double block Alessia to make sure she died. But he got the Sandstep Outcast back out twice because it was the only thing that he could return, and I was like, bah, why?
Wow.
That is so I like this card a lot. I look forward to drafting this card when we start drafting this set, because 3 power for 3 in white is great, especially when one of that can be flying. Just get that evasive creature down early and it can start chipping away at their life. It's really good. The other creature that I had that I wanted to talk about, which I didn't actually get too much experience with, unfortunately, but I'm curious what you guys think of them, is the Bloodfire Enforcers. These are the 5/2s for 4
Right.
that gain First Strike and Trample as long as you have an instant card and a sorcery card in your graveyard. You have to have both.
Did you activate that, and if so, how hard was it?
It happened once, and it was awesome because now all of a sudden I had this 5/2 First Strike with Trample. But every time I played him, I was like, "Ha! Wait!" And then I looked in my graveyard and I'm like, "Instant, enchant! Damn it!"
Yeah.
Oh.
I had these guys. I opened these guys, and I did not run them because I had a lot of instants, but I had like 1 sorcery, and I was like, "There's no way."
Yeah. So
and I don't like a 2 toughness thing.
for me, I had a lot of sorceries, and that's kind of what happened. So I had a couple instants, but the problem is that the chances of it ever being in the bin when it needed to be was pretty low. So I think this guy is really good. I just think you need to make sure you have the deck to support him, where you need a pretty even split of instants and
Yes,
sorceries.
I think so.
If you're heavy in instants and light on sorceries, or vice versa, I don't think you want to play this guy. He's still fine. He's still a 5/2 for 4, and that thing trades up all day, every day. But he also trades with a morph, so
Or a lot of other things.
be wary.
Speaking of things you opened, by the way, I should mention that I'm sure our fans will appreciate that Surak came to hang out with me. He was in my Cons of Tarkir pack, but unfortunately, fixing not support Surak. all fixing straight Obzon.
So in my removal suite, I had a couple cards from Cons. I had an Arc Lightning and I had an Arrow Storm. Both cards are awesome, as we know.
Ask Kathleen about Arc Lightning.
I'll get to it.
Did I have, how many Dose? So you had 2. I just had 1. I had 1 Douse and Gloom, which was a fantastic card. I really like this thing a lot. Then along with those, I had 2 Bathe in Dragonfires.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, at common, when you get 4 packs, you're going to open probably a couple of these. To be honest, I might have actually had 3 in my pool. But
the 3-mana sorcery deals 4 damage?
Yeah.
I would have loved to have one of those.
To target creature, just creature.
Yep.
But still, great card. It kills those dragons, which is fantastic. The cycle of the 4/4 for 6s. And it kills a lot of stuff, and it did very well. On the same sort of feeling as Arc Lightning, I had Pyrotechnics. Pyrotechnics is insane. 4 in a
Also would have liked to have one of those.
4 in a red, deals 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or players.
Ugh.
Yeah, this card is nuts.
How many 2-for-1s you get off that?
I got
Like every time you cast it?
every time I cast it, I got at least a 2-for-1, and twice I got 3-for-1s because I blew up a couple tokens. And the dude twice I killed a ponyback, and the 2 tokens and 2 of the 3 tokens they brought out with him, which felt very, very good. So Pyrotechnics, very, very good. The last piece of removal I had, and the last card that I'll talk about, is Crux of Fate.
Oh, did you have one?
I had one.
Oh,
and
wow.
I ran it because it just seemed
It's
like
a board wipe.
It's a board wipe. Why would you not play a board wipe? And just because I knew that, again, playing the meta, knowing that people had opened a whole bunch of Fate Reforged, I knew there was going to be a lot of dragons around. I knew that obviously there was just going to be a lot of creatures. It's a creature-heavy format. So I was like, all right, let's do this. And it was really good. Every time I cast it, it won me the game. Unfortunately, I didn't cast it enough times throughout the day to win me enough games, but it killed all their non-dragon creatures when it needed to. It killed all their dragon creatures when it needed to. Sometimes it was just a 3 black destroy target dragon, and that was fine. Like, I was okay with that. Good card. Would play again.
Also, the foil looks gorgeous.
The foil looks very cool. Yeah,
and it has the cool like holofoil watermark that shifts between the Khans of Tarkir expansion symbol and the Dragons of Tarkir expansion symbol.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Like Graham, I did not do very well. I went 1 and 4.
Yeah, James will have to go live in the woods now. At least you won a match.
Any match highlights?
Yeah, to be honest, not really. It was all pretty sluggish. The first match, really quickly, I went up against another Mardu player. All 3 games, we were both below 5 when somebody ended up winning. The second game, I won. Just sort of, I got there. It was one of those things where it's just, again, I was playing against I can't even remember. It was a blue-based deck with the blue siege, where you draw 2 cards and then you discard.
Yeah.
And he ended up having to destroy it so as not to deck himself.
Wow.
And he actually won. That was game 2 of round 3 or round 2. He won that game by doing so, which I thought was fantastic. So that was probably the match highlight, or the day highlight was actually a play that my opponent made, but I thought that was pretty incredible. And then, I just, to be honest, I don't think I was playing super well. My deck was, it was fine. It was mediocre. It could get there because I think I went to 3, except for the last round. I went 3 out of 3 games, all 3 round or all the first 4 rounds, and really like the set. I'm excited. I definitely want to play more of it. So
yeah.
But let's move on to Kathleen.
Kathleen.
Well,
so how did your Sultai deck do?
Well, I played Teamer.
I know.
Everybody's like, I play Sultai. I was like, I like Teamer. I'm running it back. I feel like it was a lot of what a lot of people did, is they played the same thing they played at cons. Now, had I known that the pre-release would be 4 packs, Fate Reforged, and had I known exactly how many flyers were in there, maybe I wouldn't have gone back to Teamer. Done a little metagaming, because that's my own fault, because my deck was very soft to flyers. I didn't have a single creature with reach, and I'm having to mainboard in kind of a janky spell just because I couldn't deal with flyers very well.
Did that one we talked about, the artifact enchantment or flyer card?
That came in handy, but I only had one thing that killed flyers.
Yep.
Right? Like, I had a couple of creatures with reach, but they weren't great. There was like the green 5/2s, and that's... I guess that will trade for... the problem is...
Those guys are pretty bad.
They're really expensive, and they'll trade for pretty much any flyer in the set.
Yeah.
So, I would have had to be... I don't know. And, like, when you got, like, a huge dragon breathing down your neck, as it were... like
They only trade for one of the legendary dragons?
Yeah. They'll trade for, like, pretty much any other, like, flyer...
Yeah.
Which is nice, but they're kind of like, I figured they're pretty expensive for what's basically hopefully remove a flyer.
Archers of Karsi, the one we're talking about.
Yeah, the Archers of Karsi. Anyhow, my deck was decent. It had it was a really good ground deck. The 2 times I faced opponents without flyers, which was my first round, and then Graham actually ended up squeaking out a win. Mm-hmm. My first round went really well. It was basically kind of a slower Sultai deck, and I was just like, I'm Teamer. I have big guys. My guys are bigger and tougher than yours. I can win combat. I can return your guys to your hand. I can burn out your smaller ones, because I had a Whisk Away. I had a 2-mana blue spell. I didn't take a picture of my deck. Force Away.
Whisk Away, Force Away.
I had a Whisk Away and a Force Away.
Go away.
For good tempo hits.
Just away.
I had 2 Arc Lightnings, which was an all-star, and I got...
How many times in our 3 games did you 2-for-1 me with Arc Lightning? Like
at least twice.
I think like 8 or 10 times it felt like.
It
was twice.
Arc Lightning is great in this format.
Mardu Woe Reaper only has 1 toughness, and a lot of my other creatures only have 2 toughness, and Kathleen killed them.
Yeah. I was getting to the point with Arc Lightning that I was cocky enough, and I was like, I'll probably play a 1 toughness guy soon enough. Like, if it wasn't like a huge thing that I needed to kill right away because it was going to get out of hand, it was just like...
Just wait for the value.
Exactly. But my other removal didn't have a lot of other removal. Like, I had the Disruption, but I didn't have any of, like, the big, heavy Like I didn't have any I didn't have an arrow storm or any of like the more damaging removal. Like basically I was limited to something with 3 toughness,
Right.
which was a little bit of problematic. Like my pool was not as good as it was for the Fate Reforged pre-release, because my pool of that pre-release was insane. It was so good. And it was really easy to build a good deck. This one was a lot weaker because it had a lot of holes in it. Like I didn't have anything to deal with flyers. I didn't have any like high-end removal. I just had bounce. And 3, I was not... Fate Reforged pre-release, I played almost perfectly. And here I lost a couple games because I didn't read the cards. And that's my own fault because I didn't know the set, didn't prepare, played loose.
Always look at the cards.
Yeah, I should have, and I didn't. So whose fault is that? Is mine.
I did a lot of like, I need to read that. Excuse me.
I did too, and then I would like get sloppy and just forget.
Like your pre-release foil that I had never seen before.
Yeah, my pre-release foil was really nice. It was the Shaman of the Great Hunt. Now it gives counters, which is interesting, but it's great for triggering Ferocious. It's whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. And he has haste. So, and Ferocious, for 2 in a green-blue hybrid, draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 or greater.
Thankfully, I drew a Douse and Gloom really quickly, but Kathleen was still able to just basically just draw 3 cards for free, essentially. I mean, you had to cast you weren't doing anything else with the mana, so...
No.
But that guy's a beating.
Yeah, he was really good. I actually also really, really, really liked the Hungering Yeti.
Speaking of beatings, 2 Hungering Yetis, and my Obzon deck just shut down.
Yeah.
I couldn't get past 8/8.
I got a lot of people by flashing in a Hungering Yeti. Mm-hmm. I would just pass the turn with like 5 mana up, and people would think nothing of it, and they're not going to stop attacking because of that. Flashing a Hungering Yeti, eat your guy. Screw you.
Really good, that guy.
And then your next turn, because he's a 4/4 ferocious trigger. So yeah, Hungering Yeti is great. I really liked him. My favorite card overall, though, Treasure Cruise.
Yep.
And I have a really funny Treasure Cruise story. Like I said, I only won 2 of my matches, but in my second match, it was quite close. The first game I won, the second game I was mana screwed, and then the third game, my opponent wipes the board with Crux of Fate.
Ooh.
And I top deck a Treasure Cruise.
Oh, no.
And then play it for 2 because all my stuff just went away.
So you just reload your hand real quick.
He was annoyed. I was like, that's a really good time. I mean, he wasn't like salty about it, but he was like, because he knew I top decked it too, right?
That's
I was like,
timely Treasure Cruise.
It was a very timely top deck. And, so I rebuilt my board, pounding in. Second Crux of Fate you do not see coming.
What?
Ian Weber had 2 Crux of Fates in his deck.
What? That monster.
I lost. There's only so much you can do for a second Crux of Fate.
What can cons do against such reckless dragons?
It was pretty good. And then I ended up losing a bunch of dragon-based games. And just like playing sloppily and like losing to, goblin shortcutters and stuff like that. I wish it had one of those in my deck, but I didn't.
That would have been brutal with your deck with the hunt, the master, whatever his name is. Shaman.
Yeah, I had a Teamer Charm, and actually I found myself really not enjoying it because the problem being, if you are in a situation where there's like your opponent is resolving a huge dragon, there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. Like a Teamer Charm is not going to allow you to remove it, even if you give your creature +1/+1. So you can fight it. The best you can do. Like I ended up in a few desperation moves, 2-for-1ing myself just to get rid of a big flyer.
Sometimes you have to.
Well, yeah, sometimes you have to, but it doesn't feel good. No. You're like, ugh.
So how did you enjoy the pre-release overall, though?
Well, even though I played badly and my pool wasn't great. Oh, all my rares were like not good though.
Except that guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, he came in my seed pack, but a lot of the rares I opened, like I didn't open any big rare flying dragons, although I would have run them. And I got a lot of off-color rares that I couldn't play. Like I had 2 pieces of white fixing, and I had like I had some white rares that I couldn't play, and a temporal trespass. Which I wasn't going to play because I was like, I would rather
very expensive.
I'd rather resolve Treasure Cruise, thank you. Although for a brief period I did consider both. The greed, but no. But can you imagine Treasure Cruise and then you take another turn, but then you have
the greed is real.
How many cards do you have in your graveyard? Magical Christmas Land, and I don't know. What was I saying?
Your record.
My record 2 and 3.
Nice.
Not great.
That's fine.
Not good. Ground-based decks, I was solid. Anything with a big flyer in the air or a couple of big flyers, which was common, problems.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Cam, who's not able to be here at the moment, went 3-2, and our buddy Adam went 4-1.
Nope.
He also went 3-2.
Also went 3-2.
I thought he went 4-1.
No, that was for some reason. So did I, and that's what I tweeted. But yeah, incorrect. He went 3-2.
Wow.
So yeah, Jess guy.
The curse
Saltai.
continues. Yeah.
Jess guy and Saltai did better.
I did enjoy that we all played. All 5 clans are represented between the 5 Loading Ready Run folk.
Oh yeah,
which I thought was really cool.
I didn't even realize.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That was the.
It was super fun. I really like this set. I can't wait to draft it. I want to play Sealed again.
Before we go,
oh yeah,
I want to talk about how good Manifest was.
Oh, do that.
Manifest was really good. I did not actually so much care for Ethereal Ambush because you could get something you actually would rather not have manifested, and if it's a spell, it's dead. And when you're casting Ethereal Ambush as 2 chump blockers, that's not great. But I really liked Right into Being. Because you could filter it to be a creature, you know. Or
Ethereal Ambush actually seems very strong.
Ethereal Ambush was okay.
I saw some people really get got by that.
Yeah. I'm not saying you couldn't get got by it, but I'm just saying, like, I mean, I was fine when it manifested 2 lands as just a 2/2 blocker. There's some 2/2s. I was a little salty if it manifested like an Arc Lightning or my Treasure Cruise at one point, because then it's like, well, it's just gone. And I mean, you
could force it away. You had the bounce.
I know. I mean, like, that's just the price you have to pay with Manifest to get a 2/2 body on the ground.
Hey, here's a question. If you... No, I'm thinking of Whisk Away. Nothing. Ignore me.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
I liked Whisk Away, though, because it put it on the top of the deck.
Yeah.
For 3.
Yeah.
3 is good.
It's really good.
Really good.
So, yeah, I had a great time.
I had a great time.
I had a fantastic... Like, I really enjoyed myself.
Yeah.
I just didn't play very well.
I lost hard, but I had a great time. Like I said, the set is sweet. Mm-hmm. Really excited about it. I hope your pre-releases went well. I hope you were able to attend them. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, well, you'll see us draft this set when it hits Magic Online, and I hope I can draft it on paper before then. So, yeah, there you go. Literally today, the... ban lists were updated, and there was changes to Modern, Legacy, and Vintage.
Luckily, those are our areas of expertise.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to the pros who actually play those. That generally the consensus is that these are bans that are positive for the format, even if individuals are salty about one deck or another. So that's probably good news.
From what I've read on Reddit, it's like, oh, I was winning with this deck. Yeah, so was everybody else.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have no strong opinions either way, but I think it's interesting. Maybe we'll talk more about that in depth next week. Mm-hmm. But for now, just you can go check that out on the Wizards website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So pre-release lessons, have fun, play nice, and read the cards.
Yep.
Read the cards.
Next pre-release is sooner than usual. So, yeah.
We'll be back for we'll be back sooner.
We'll be back with this.
Definitely
next,
be
we'll
talking
be back with this
about
next
dragons.
week. But until then, we'll be talking a lot more about Fate Reforged next week. So, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye, everybody.